welcome to Get Fruitful Conversations. I'm your host, Anwyn Cooper, and if you're interested in growing a passion-fueled, purpose-driven enterprise and believe that business can be a force for greater good, then this is the podcast for you. Each episode, I'll be talking with inspiring entrepreneurs and inviting them to share how they're pioneering new ways of working to create more prosperity and positive impact for people and the planet. We'll be bringing you fresh insight and practical actions to generate more income and impact through your own business. Our purpose is to give you new perspectives on how to align your vision to a bigger mission in a way that fulfills your personal potential while also generating a longer lasting legacy and more value for all. So thanks for tuning in. I'm delighted you're here to listen. Now let's get fruitful with today's conversation. Okay, so welcome everybody today. Really excited to have Nici Jupp as my guest today, live in conversation with me. Nici is a recruitment partner to entrepreneurs and CEOs of scale-ups who are looking to grow their teams post-investment. She is director of her own business, which she founded back in 2012, called Talent Gateway. And prior to that, she has spent many years working in other varied management positions, leading different business functions. And she came to recruitment later on in her career, having become frustrated with the other options available on the market when looking to build her own teams. And Nici also has a passion for social impact. She is a member of Social Value UK and has also done the certification program that they offer. So I'm really delighted to have Nici here with us today to talk about her entrepreneurial journey and business for good. Welcome, Nici.
Thank you, Anwyn.
So yeah, do you want to just say a little bit about yourself and add to that introduction that I've done there to explain how you came to set up your own business?
Yeah. So I spent over a decade in predominantly the telecoms industry, started in sales, and over the 12 years that I was in that sector, I have done various roles which covered most departments within business. I did a business degree and, as I say, started in sales, covered product development. I've run corporate due diligence teams when we were when I was part of a larger organisation looking to acquire smaller companies. I looked at the commercial elements as part of the due diligence process. What I would say is in my corporate life, I did very little. I was not a recruiter, but I was a leader, manager who was recruiting to fill my roles within my teams. And I always felt frustrated. I didn't feel listened to when, if I was lucky, I was asked what kind of person I wanted in my team. And I think that seed was planted back then. I didn't have a desire to move into recruitment in my corporate life. I was very happy doing the various roles that I was doing. And then I chose to take voluntary redundancy when I was starting a family, actually. And I took 6 years out and had my children.
Yeah.
And I'd always had this sort of nagging feeling that I had a business in me, but was never sure what that was. And the story goes, being stood at the school gates regularly and looking around me and seeing lots of professional individuals who actually had spent, similar to myself, a decade plus building substantial experience and careers, wanted to use that experience and go back to work, but didn't want to do that on a full-time permanent basis. So the gem of an idea for me was to bring together the opportunity to help these people to get into work. I could see the opportunity for a business to attract these talented individuals, but probably couldn't afford them on a full-time basis anyway. So I got myself qualified in recruitment, so I understood the legal side of it, and I set up Talent Gateway, as you said, back in 2012, and it's been a journey ever since. And you know, I love every minute of what we do. The purpose has always been the motivation for me at the core of the business has always been to enable businesses to have the right people in their companies, and that means engaged employees on the one hand, and also to help individuals to be in companies where they feel valued and therefore they want to go above and beyond. So it's about serving both sides of my clients, the candidates and the businesses or charities or not-for-profit organisations. So Talent Gateway, as you clearly sort of introduced at the beginning, has evolved over time in terms of the customers that we target. It is very much those organisations that tend to have received round B funding. And part of that funding has been invested on the back of some quite ambitious growth. And in order to fulfill that growth ambition, often there's a substantial recruitment activity that needs to happen in a relatively short space of time. And what we do is we act as the in-house recruitment team for those organisations, partner with them and help them do a jolly good job of finding the right people in order for them to deliver against their plans.
Yeah, brilliant. So what does business for good mean for you?
Business for good, I think that question's really interesting. So for me, probably going back several years, business for good, I would automatically jump to charity, social enterprise. But actually, I think in my opinion, you can be a profit-making business and be still business for good. For me, it's all about having a responsibility as a business owner to make sure that all the time your business exists, you go above and beyond to impact every one of your stakeholders in a positive way. And I think also, if you can make a profit, you can also do good with that profit. But you don't have to give it all away. So there's many elements to it, and I'm sure part of this discussion will be sort of, I've been on a bit of a journey to really understand what social impact and sort of social value is as a business owner.
Yeah, I like that way that you kind of broke that down into thinking about the activity of the business and sort of day-to-day impact on all stakeholders, but also what do you do with the profit at the end of the day, kind of thing. Yeah, it's interesting to think about it in those terms. Thank you. So what is your big vision at the moment? What are you working towards as a goal for your business, or kind of, how do you see your business evolving into the future?
I think it's twofold. So on the one level, it's very much about working with more of these scale-up businesses, partnering with them to really help them stand out in all the noise. That there are lots of, whilst the job market has been impacted a lot in certain sectors, hospitality is an example, and there are lots of people who are unfortunately out of work. A lot of the organisations that we work with, there is lots of competition for certain skills, and that tends to be around technology. So developers are a really good example. So for me, it's about helping our clients to understand how to attract the right individuals for their company by communicating clearly about who they are as a company and why the right people will want to go and work for them and ultimately stay, be engaged, want to be there. It's not just about getting a bottom on a seat. So that's one element of the future. So to do more of what we're doing and continually learn from our customers, with our customers, and grow and keep developing the service offering to them to continue to match their needs. And then the other one is to consistently and continually reflect and hold a mirror up to ourselves as a company and say, of all the stakeholders that we have, so employees, suppliers, customers, both candidates and clients, are we doing all that we can do to have a positive impact on them whilst we exist? And we're a small company, but I think if all businesses held themselves to account, then I think the world would be a better place.
Yeah, I love that. Continually reflecting. How do you do that? Do you have kind of regular points in time when you set aside time for that reflection, or is that more of a daily ongoing thing?
I think I'd be fibbing if I said it's a daily thing. I think it's ingrained in us as individuals in the company to always consider our options on a tiny scale. So are we using local suppliers, for example? For us as a business, I am always keen to make sure that we add value to our employees. So most of the people that work for us, not all, are working parents. That's quite important to me. But more formally, every 6 months, we look at, we dissect the company into those various elements, and we look at the different processes that we have and say, can they be tweaked so that they can be more positive? And then we make the appropriate tweaks and changes. Yeah,
great to hear that you're doing that. Sounds very disciplined.
That's why it's only once every 6 months.
Yeah. So what would you say your biggest learning has been on your business journey? Maybe something about the world of work or business, or something about yourself that you've learned?
Gosh, that's quite a big question. Biggest learning. Oh, for me, on a very basic level, it's just patience. I'm very much I need to do it now. You know, it has to be done yesterday. And what I've learned over time is just taking a breath. And both from a personal perspective, actually, the importance of just pause. Is it the right thing to do? Yes, no, I'm always I continue to be a get the job done. Equally, I am also very self-aware of the impact that can have on other people. And I am an avid believer in psychometrics. And when you join Talent Gateway, you do a psychometric. So we tend to use Hogan, and Hogan's got 3 elements to it. And it looks at they call it your bright side. So when people see you at your best, it looks at your derailers. So when you're under stress, or when you're really, really relaxed, the behaviors that can come out. And the third element is what you value. I think that's really important. And if you can then with your colleagues understand one another, how to get the best from one another, you know, how to communicate better with each other, I think as a team you're far more cohesive. Yeah. And also I think being self-aware, it can't.
So important. Yeah, definitely. Learning about yourself is so important.
Yeah.
And what are you still keen to learn? Are there any things that you're reading about at the moment or wanting to know more about? What's kind of interesting you at the moment? Obviously, scale ups is something that you're focusing on, tech companies?
I think for me that there's a few things that I am constantly sort of, I wouldn't say researching, but I'm listening and watching out for, and that is how businesses are shifting to do more to positively impact the world. So anything around environmental issues. We're working with a company at the moment that have developed a product that cleans the air that you breathe.
Oh, wow.
And any company for me that is developing something that has purpose and positive impact, I love working with them.
Yeah,
Get
it's
very
fascinating
passionate about what they do. But coming back to recruitment, for me, there's a couple of things. It's what you do, but it's how you do it. And working with that company in particular has been great, because you can get passionate about the product, but you can also get passionate about the company and the way people get treated inside. So that's one thing for me. And I'm amazed, what people are doing with technology around healthcare. So I'm quite fascinated by technology and sort of positive impact, I guess. Two things for me, and obviously they're combined.
Yeah, fascinating. So where do you draw inspiration from? Are there any people in particular that you follow, or books that you've read, podcasts that you listen to, films that you've watched? What inspires you, other than those examples that you've given there of clients that you're working with, and products that they've got?
I think Patagonia is sort of big picture company. I think they're an exceptional case study of how having purpose really ingrained inside your culture as an organization can make you even more profitable.
They're such a good example, aren't they?
To be able to take your Patagonia jacket into one of their outlets and get it repaired rather than buying a new one, and
makes them different.
And their sales go up. You just think, okay, and logically, from a business, well, you sort of think, how can that make sense?
Yeah.
If you've got a coat and you've got a choice, I buy a new one or I get it fixed, you would assume that the sales would go down, but actually the stickiness of that company. So they're a company I find really, really interesting.
Yeah.
In terms of, from a business perspective, what they're doing, who they're partnering with, some of the products that they're developing. So I find them quite inspirational. Reading, what am I reading at the moment?
I'm just thinking on that point, it's a really good one, but you probably go into the store with your jacket, don't need to get it fixed, and then while you're in there you see something that tempts you. I was just thinking that with IKEA. I don't know whether you've seen that IKEA are sort of starting to roll out something similar, where you can take broken or unwanted pieces of furniture back to their stores. They will recycle them and they will give you money off new products. I think it's a really interesting initiative. I think it's only in some stores at the moment, but they're looking to expand it to all of them in due course.
And they're the things that are exciting, and I genuinely see that shift. And I think, certainly through what we do, we have conversations with people right across from sort of the different generations for different roles. And, in the press, it always talks about sort of, millennials being the ones that, that work for organizations with purpose. And but it isn't just millennials.
No.
The whole of society in general, that shift is happening. That doesn't mean to say that anyone is thought less of if they don't want to work with a company necessarily with a social purpose at its core. But I've definitely seen that shift, and like I say, across the generations, people are very open about the fact that it matters to them what and how the company does what it does.
Yeah, definitely. Did you start to say something else a minute ago about other inspirations? I wasn't sure there was something that just came to you.
No, I was thinking along the lines of books, what books I've been reading. I can't think of any that come to mind in terms of...
Yeah, don't worry, I don't want to put you on the spot. Any top tips maybe that you have to share with other people who are just starting out with a new business, or who already have a business that they're looking to grow? What would your words of wisdom be to share with them?
Word of wisdom for starting out a business.
What do people need to think about doing or planning for?
I think...
Would you recommend it even? Or who would you recommend it for? Are there some people that you should advise against it?
I think, I mean, I'm a believer actually that part of schooling should include sort of entrepreneurialism.
I mean, you've obviously had a long interest in business, if that's what you chose to study for your degree.
Yeah, I mean,
how did you make that choice? How did you go down that path in the first place?
I wanted to keep I didn't find a passion early in my, in my studies, and I guess that stayed with me. I like unpicking the whole business. I love knowing how it all fits together. How one part of the organization impacts the other organization, how it glues.
So it's like seeing the system working as a whole.
And that's part of why I love doing what I do, actually. And that part of partnering with customers is about unpicking the business, really understanding it, knowing where the company wants to go, and then finding the right people to be in the right parts of the organization to enable you then to get to where you need to go. So coming back to your question, I would say being as clear as you can about what you want to achieve. So having clear goals, but I think more importantly, staying true to yourself, in terms of sort of, and it sounds a little bit cheesy, sort of who you are and what you stand for, because, sometimes we don't look at life in that way, but try your best not to compromise. I often speak to people who run their own businesses and they say, oh, I made a decision to do something, whatever that something was. And when they reflect, they say, but I knew it wasn't right, but I did it. And I wish I hadn't done it.
Yeah.
Yes, you learn, and obviously you learn by that, because you're never going to get everything right and getting things wrong, as long as you self-reflect. Makes you stronger, makes you better, makes you wiser. So I think sort of trying to be as true as you can to your values, both as a person and what you want your business to be recognised and valued for. So for me, it's about treating candidates with respect, because I often say to my business partner, on a bad day, are we having a good impact on people? And actually, recruitment, people spend so much of their life at work. When you're not happy at work, the rest of your day, your life is impacted by that. So and then equally, when you're running a business and you haven't got the right people in your company, the stress, the money, the time, that's involved in sorting that out is painful. So you know,
you really feel it.
yeah, you know, so for me, the glue that makes sort of recruitment work really well is trying to, it always comes back to values. So it's one thing to advertise a job and say, I need somebody with these skills and this experience because of what I need them to do. But that's the easy part, because technology allows us to search people and to find them. The magic, as I say, happens when you understand what makes the person tick, and what it is that they are looking for in an organisation, so that they can feel engaged, and then understanding what the business, the organisation offers and values. And when they align, that's when you go, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, they arrive and they say, oh, Nici, the company was everything that you said it would be. And, you know, and your client says, the individual, you know, they're cracking. They're everything.
The perfect match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
It was, matching people on that deeper level.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and
going beyond the skills match.
Yeah.
Into a value match.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. So when I introduced you, I mentioned that you as an organisation are members of Social Value UK, and you've done level 1 of their certification programme. Do you want to just talk a little bit about that for people who are not familiar with that organisation? Maybe just explain a little bit about what they do and what you've got from being a member, like how's that benefited you and what was involved in that certification?
Okay, so coming back to what we were talking about earlier about, you know, purpose, and I've always wanted the business to have a positive impact whilst it exists. And I did some research at the beginning to understand B Corp, actually, and understanding the process and what it would take to become B Corp certified. And at that time, we were also recruiting a new member of the team. And more by luck than judgment, the individual that we took into our team was a social value practitioner. And what that meant was that she is certified in taking organisations through the social value certification process.
Right.
So my belief is that there is lots of similarities, and so there should be in terms of sort of B Corp, social value, and there are others out there. So what that actually involves is you are unpicking your business. So you identify who are all the stakeholders that you interact with. So in our case, it's people who supply services to us, products and services. It's our employees, it's our clients, and they are both candidates and businesses. And then you unpick those interactions that you have with them. So for example, taking candidate, we would unpick our candidate experience. So what happens, when's the first time we touch a candidate from a business perspective? And you unpick that journey, and you say, you actually can measure in some cases the positive impact that you have on those individuals. It can be quite detailed, and I probably would have found it more difficult to go through as a process had we not had somebody in the team that was very, very capable of taking us through that process. What it does, though, actually, from a business perspective, is it allows you to make business improvements. You know, so for coming back to the candidate one, we were looking at our process and, dissecting it, going through it step by step. And, we were saying to things, are we going back to every candidate that has had an interaction with us? Yes, we go back to the ones who've gone through an interview process with the client, give them feedback, but we absolutely make sure that we go back to every single candidate, which is time consuming, but actually what we know is it's soul destroying when people
if you don't hear.
Individuals will say, I send my CV here, I send it there, and I get absolutely nothing back. And again, hearing nothing, the impact on that individual means that slowly it chips away at them. So, so that's what we did. To go through the process, you unpick everything.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a business improvement program as much as anything.
Yeah, it's a really good way of describing it.
Yeah, although that's not the purpose, I guess, behind it necessarily. It's more about assessing where you're at. But by going through that, you inevitably find areas for improvement.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant. And what would you say you've benefited from through your membership of the Social Value UK organisation? Have you been involved much? Like, I know that they do events and they have a mailing list and things that people can join. Have you engaged with that much?
Through lockdown, less so. I've been to 2 of their conferences, and I think it's a really good opportunity to take learnings from others. I guess for us as a business, because we are on the smaller side, there is less that we can do, as opposed to some construction is a big sector that looks at social value. Value in communities where they're building things. I guess again on a personal level, I think it's wonderful to see that businesses are doing what they're doing to make sure that they're not destroying.
It's sort of encouraging.
Yeah, exactly.
Heartening to see.
Again, linking back to that comment earlier of the world hopefully moving in the right direction, and being more mindful of the impact that we have.
So backing that up
exist. Yeah,
brilliant, thank you. So before we go, is there anything else you'd like to say? Any final thoughts, anything that you feel like we haven't covered? Or otherwise I will give you the opportunity to share your contact details and how people can get in touch with you if they'd like to know more about your work.
I don't think there's necessarily anything else I would like to cover.
No. Okay, great. Well, how can people get in touch if they would like to know more about you and your business?
So you can email me direct at Nici, which is spelled NICI, at talentgateway.net, or take a look at our website, which is www.talentgateway.net, or indeed you can get in touch with Anwin, and Anwin will get in touch with me.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Nici. It's been really interesting to hear about your journey and all the great work that you're doing.
Pleasure. Thanks a lot for asking me, Anwin.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for listening in to today's Get Fruitful conversation. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, I invite you to give us a 5-star rating, leave a review, subscribe to the podcast, and tell your friends and colleagues to check it out too. This will help us reach a wider audience and make sure you don't miss out on future episodes. If you'd like to get in touch, connect with other like-minded people in business and continue conversations about topics discussed here, then I'd love you to come and find our community online. It's free to join us. Just search for the Get Fruitful Business for Good group over on Facebook, visit my website, getfruitfulmarketing.com, or click the links in the show notes. I'd love to hear what Business for Good means for you. Until next time, goodbye for now.